me get this straight. Y'all worship a God that got mad at his own people and almost annihilated them for worshiping a piece of gold. And he proclaims to be jealous. And you don't see a problem with it.
Yeah. Still gonna praise his name. What you want me to do? What you want me to do about God getting upset? What, you want us to worship you?
Well, shout out to Mr. King for reacting to my video. What I thought was very interesting about this video was I thought I was expecting a better reaction when somebody sent it to me in my DMs. What immediately gave me like sadness in my heart was that he gave me the typical old Negro reaction, right? And I don't mean to call him a Negro. He's not a Negro. He's a black man, very successful. Just saw him on America's Got Talent. So, you know what I'm saying? Get your money, black man. However, I have grew up in the church for over 20 years. And I remember jokes, literal jokes being made about the Old Testament God. I would entertain these jokes. I would make jokes myself, especially when I was like in the church, in religion, preaching for Jesus, all these different things. And I remember, I thank the Lord for Jesus Christ, because I don't know if I could have been back in all the Old Testament the way God was. This actually brings me back to a video that Kev on Stage did about 5 years ago about the Old Testament God. Let's watch this for a second.
You know, Old Testament, big G. I'm killing people if you don't listen to what I say. I don't know what else to tell you. Also, this wasn't God, but Elisha, he had some kids killed for roasting him. You know what I'm saying? He walking around, they're like, go up, bald head, go up. He's like, what? She-bear, kill them. Kill them. 42 people got killed by 2 bears. 42 kids. Roasting was deadly in the Bible. I wish I could, wish I had that power. I mean, I wouldn't have the bears kill nobody, but they would be like, because people be like, go up, bald head to me, but I ain't know.
And what I find interesting about Kev on Stage's reaction to this is that this is how a lot of black Christians think when it comes to God. God was straight gangster, man. That's just how he was, man. You don't want to mess around with the Old Testament God, bro. And we don't take a couple steps back to be like, this man might be deranged. If we was to take the Old Testament God and place him as a man, we would not want to be friends with him. That is somebody who is beyond tyrannical. Even with Kev on Stage talking about Elijah sicking 2 she-bears on 42 children, he's like, I wouldn't have the she-bears eat up the kids. And it's so interesting that we have more of a heart than God does. You ever notice that? Whenever we talk to Christians or people who believe in God, they could never do what God could do, right? Even though in the Bible, God always has humans enact on his methods and his feels. Like if we hear a man talk about him giving to the poor, hundreds of thousands of dollars to the poor, all these different resources, and we would think, oh, that man has a pure heart. He must have the Holy Spirit. But then when we read something from the Bible, like God commands Israel to utterly destroy all the inhabitants of Jericho, including the Canaanite cities, all men, women, children, and infants, and animals. And then when we look at what happened with the massacre with the Midianites, where God tells Moses to wage war and off all the adults and keep the virgin girls for yourself, keep the little girls for yourselves. If we was to hear that in our time with anybody else, it could be anybody, we could automatically feel that is completely disgusting. That is not humane. But it's interesting that our heart is better than God's. My literally central point is to point out that for a God to be jealous, and to be jealous to a certain point that he gets mad that a set of people that he already knew was going to do what they did, he got mad anyway and was this close to annihilating them. This close after everything that he did, which caused Moses to crash out and remind him of the promise that he gave to their ancestors because he was about to break that covenant. But the crazy thing about it is it's deranged. It's out of order, but you choose to accept it because you have been programmed to see this God as the all-powerful God. So therefore, you have to accept his abuse. You have to accept his consequences. You have to accept everything that he throws at you. And then the church gives you these different stories like Job so that you can just push through. Even if he gambles with your life, with the devil and he has a closer relationship with the devil than you still have to push through. If we was to see these like character traits in any other god, we could clearly see that this God is tyrannical and is not worthy of our praise. This is actually what I loved about Percy Jackson, because he went up against the gods. He let the world know that the gods are flawed. And just because you have been programmed and taught to worship them doesn't mean that they can't catch these hands too. But when it comes to this Hebrew God, this war chief God, for whatever reason, we have to bend the knee. I will not bend the knee. If you made it this far, hello, I am the Omnius Roan. This is my YouTube channel, so if you could do anything for me, go to my YouTube channel and run them views up, hit them likes up, watch my content, just get a better scope of my outlook on life and on religion itself. And share your thoughts in the comments below. Matter of fact, share this with a couple of friends, because this is going to be a good topic.